Welcome to A Life Designed. My name is Tina Heisman. I help women who are struggling with the overwhelm of trying to balance being a wife, mother, and career woman. When they work with me, they discover how to design their life so they can live in alignment with their priorities. The topic of today's podcast is practical tips to thrive this holiday season. But before we get started, I have something for you. It is my ultimate guide to guilt-free self-care. You can download it for free on my website, tinaheisman.com. I would also like to invite you to my private group on Facebook where you can come to get positive inspiration for your life. Search A Life Designed in the Facebook search bar. Okay, let's dive in and talk about practical tips to thrive in this holiday season. So welcome to the holiday season, friends. We're here. So when you think about that, how do you feel? Does it make you feel so excited to be in the holiday season? Or does it make you feel really stressed out because there's so much to do? Maybe if you're like most of us, you probably feel a little bit of both, right? It's both exciting and stressful. And for any of us up here in the north, it's cold and it's dark, and that's causing extra feelings of frustration. So for many people, probably you included, the holiday season can create feelings of overwhelm because there's so much to do, right? There's all the decorating of the house, there's all the gift wrapping and all the family gatherings and all the cooking and all of the things that we have to do. So it can feel overwhelmed. It's a really busy time of year. And it can also feel stressful because some of us might have strained relationships in our families or in our work environments, and those relationships can kind of get in the way of gatherings being peaceful and enjoyable. You know, there are so many of us who might have negative feelings and feelings of dread about some of the gatherings coming up because maybe we're in a rough spot in a relationship with a loved one, right? That can be really stressful. And then even others of us have sadness and grief sometimes at this time of year because some of our loved ones have passed away and they're no longer with us. And that can feel really hard. And so all of these things together can just take the joy right out of a season that is supposed to be really special and really magical and really help us to focus on what is most important in life, right? And so what happens is that we unconsciously set about this season just trying to survive it. And you guys, that's what I want to talk to you about because the key to really thriving in this season is living consciously in it instead of just unconsciously going through the motions. And also knowing that even if we have difficult relationships or situations right now, that we can still thrive in this Christmas season, right? So that's kind of where my mindset is. I don't just want to survive this Christmas. I want to thrive in it. I want to enjoy it. I want to be able to take the time to focus on what matters most to me and what is the true meaning of this season. And so I picked a word this year for the Christmas season to help me stay focused on what I want. And that word is magical. And so I want to have a magical Christmas season this year. Does that sound good to you? You might want to have a magical season, but you might have a different word. You might have a word like peaceful or tranquil or exciting. You can pick your own word, and I would certainly encourage you to do that, to think about it. And so I'm going to use that example of magical to walk you through a planning exercise that you can do at home that will help you have the Christmas season that you want to have. And so this is work that does require you to slow down for a few minutes and think, and I hope that you will give yourself the gift of this. I can help you out a lot just by listening to this podcast, but if you really want to take it to the next step, you need to sit down with a pen and paper and move forward, okay? And so if you're driving, I'm going to post the journaling questions in the show notes so that you can access them later when you're not driving. But let's dive right in here. So the first thing that we need to think about is how you want to feel this holiday season. So as I mentioned earlier, I said, I want to feel magical. I just want it to feel magical this year. And again, for you, it could be peaceful. You might want to feel joy filled or connected or loving or grateful. Whatever it is for you that you want to feel, write it down and maybe jot down some words. Reverent is another one that comes to mind. This is definitely in my world, this is definitely a season that celebrates the birth of Christ. And I take it to mean, that our relationship with God is the most important thing that we need to focus on, and then the relationships with the other humans in our lives. And so when I'm saying I want this to feel magical, just, remembering the importance of all of these relationships in my life. And so that's where I'm coming from with that. So once you've decided your word of how you want this holiday season to feel, the next thing you want to do is think about what you want it to look like. What do you want this holiday season to look like? And I want you to write this down too. So for me, if I said I want this to be a magical Christmas season, I have to be specific about what that looks like, right? It can't just be some pie in the sky idea. So for me, a magical Christmas means my home is beautifully decorated. It can be simple. It doesn't have to be crazy, but I want it to feel warm and inviting. So like twinkly lights, right? The lights on the Christmas tree. The tree is tall and beautiful. We have our favorite little place that we go to pick out our tree every year. And I just have the visions of it almost touching the ceiling in my home. And I can smell the pine. And the family room just looks so pretty, especially at night when the lights are on the Christmas tree. I just love it. And so for me, just that sight evokes such wonderful, magical feelings, and that's what I want. And then my husband, guys, he redid our fireplace a few years ago, and it's so pretty. And I just have this image of hanging the stockings over the fireplace and how traditional and beautiful that's going to look. And so that's magical to me. And I'm also imagining that leading up to Christmas this year, that we're going to have time to do some of our favorite festive, local Christmas events together, like the Christkindl Market downtown Chicago, Macy's Windows on State Street in downtown Chicago. This year I want to try to get to the Botanic Gardens or the Arboretum to see their holiday light displays. Those are my favorite things, out in nature and twinkly lights. What more could a girl want? Except for a little bit of warmth. It's going to be cold, so got to brace myself for that part, but can't control Mother Nature. But we can control the beauty of what we see. And so those are some of the events that I want to do, right? And so I'm also imagining that I am shopping early and finding gifts that I know my loved ones will love and appreciate, and that I have time to wrap them, plenty of time before Christmas Eve, right? How many Christmas Eves have we spent up late wrapping gifts? You know what, you guys? That actually didn't work terribly when the kids were little because they went to bed at 7 o'clock. But now they're up later than us. We can't do that anymore. I have to find other times to wrap the gifts because otherwise they're awake. So things change. Things do change. Okay, so next on my list for this holiday season is that spending time with my family and friends is peaceful and loving and memorable. And for me and my family, I don't have any, right now anyway, any negative drama or anything like that. But when I say I want to be peaceful and loving and memorable, I just want to make sure that I do my part to connect with people and that I show up and I am present and loving. And so just me doing my best to make the people around me feel loved and show them that I want to spend time with them and be with them. So that's kind of what I mean by that. So even if you don't have family drama, how do you want to show up to these gatherings, right? Do you want to be just frazzled and barely there, or do you really want to try and be present and let the people in your life know that they're really important to you? And so I want you guys to do this exercise for yourself, to actually take the time to write down what it looks like to you to have the Christmas season that you want to have. And because then we're going to take it one step further. Once you have everything written down, then we need to make a list of everything that we need to do. You can think of this as a brain dump, because you guys, part of what stresses us out during this season is leaving so much in our minds to try to remember. Like that's like literally draining your energy and making you feel stressed out. It's putting your body in fight or flight mode. I can feel it just talking to you about it. But if we will take the time to write down everything that we want to do and everything that we need to do on paper, we can tell our mind that it can have a rest because we've got it, right? Because we have got it. Now I'm going to give you a way to take this a step further because if you're anything like me, once you do write all of this down on paper, that might feel overwhelming looking at this long list of everything you have to do. And so the next step is to work on scheduling things on your calendar. So for example, you're shopping. Do you know when you're going to have time to do your shopping? Do you like to do online shopping or do you like to do in-person shopping? Look at your calendar and actually schedule an appointment for yourself to do your shopping. And what about the decorating of the Christmas tree? Looking at your calendar, finding a time when the whole family is going to be home, hopefully, right? It might not always work out perfectly when we have older kids, but trying to find a time that can make that experience meaningful, looking at your calendar, not leaving it to chance. And for me, my challenge this year, I really want to work on this year. Like I told you guys, trying to get down to the Chris Kindle Market and the Macy's windows and the Arboretum. I'm going to pick like what's my and the whole family, not just me, but like what's our priority? Like if it's Chris Kindle Market, then getting that on the calendar so that we know we're going to get that in. Or if it's the Arboretum or the Botanic Gardens, planning that on the calendar first so that we know that we will have time to do that and I don't have to worry, right? And so then scheduling time on your calendar, actually looking at it. When are you going to have time to wrap those gifts, right? When can you get it done so it's not Christmas Eve up until the wee hours of the morning? Unless that works good for you because your kids are in bed early. It doesn't work for me anymore. But this is just especially important because scheduling these things on your calendar will help you release that burden of a long to-do list because you're actually going to put it on places on your calendar so you can stop worrying about it and know that it will happen. And so that's really important. And I want you to honor these appointments with yourself that you make. That can be the next tricky thing is that you think, oh, I got this thing I'd rather do or that thing I'd rather do or this thing I think I need to do. And you let the appointment go to the wayside. And before you know it, none of the gifts are wrapped. And that's what I see happening most often is that we're not honoring ourselves and what we need. And that's something really important for you in showing up in this season how you want it to be is honoring yourself and your commitments that you made. Trust yourself, right? I know that this is something that a lot of my clients work with because getting it on the calendar is one thing, but then honoring it is a whole other thing. And I also speak from experience for sure. So I want you to remember how we said we wanted the Christmas season to feel. Remember, I picked the word magical. So it is possible that things are going to happen along the way that are going to cause you to think a thought that might take that feeling away, like that magical feeling. And so, for example, if you're having trouble finding a gift for a certain person, or you feel like things keep coming in the way of your calendar, you're having trouble honoring your calendar, like we talked about. Finding ways to match up schedules maybe is difficult, or there's a relative that decides to start being difficult. So this is when it's helpful to remember the intention that you set for the kind of a season that you want to have. So if you want it to be magical or peaceful, when something difficult comes at you, you ask yourself, what would be the magical thing to do right here? Or how could I make this situation feel magical? Do you see how I've given you some mindset tools here with setting your intention for how you want it to feel? And then I've given you some very practical tools of writing down what it is you actually want to experience, and then writing down a list of everything you need to do and putting it on your calendar. And now we're going back to the mindset, because even when we are so well organized and planned, things are going to come and bump up against us. And so we want to go back to our mind. And this is really fun, actually, if you'll do it. If you would say, when something gets in your way, what would be the magical thing to do right here? You will be shocked at how your creativity will come through and help you handle that situation in a manner that you might not have thought otherwise. Really cool stuff. Okay. So I hope that you can really appreciate this mix of mindset work and practical tips here that will help you thrive in this holiday season if you'll put them to use. You see, Christmas doesn't have to be stressful and busy and chaotic. It can feel organized and peaceful and magical, or whatever it is that you want to feel. But if this seems like it's easier said than done, reach out to me. I put together a 4-week coaching plan just for this purpose, and I would love to work with you to help you have the Christmas experience that you want to this year. All right, friends, thank you so much for listening in, and please let me know if you have any specific questions. And remember to download your free guide to guilt-free self-care and join us in the Life Designed community on Facebook. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week.